The Ottoman Empire, one of the most formidable empires in history, was a force that spanned over 6 centuries and ruled vast territories across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Its establishment of supremacy over the Arab world in the 16th century marked a pivotal moment in history, reshaping not only the political landscape but also the economic and cultural dynamics of the region. The Ottomans' control of the Arab world was not just a military conquest but also a strategic maneuver that involved securing vital trade routes, solidifying their dominance in the region, and transforming the Middle East into a critical nexus for global trade. The Ottoman Empire's rise to prominence began in the late 13th century with the founding of the empire by Osman I in what is now modern-day Turkey. Initially a small principality in Anatolia, the Ottomans slowly expanded their influence through military conquests. Their initial victories over the Byzantine Empire, culminating in the conquest of Constantinople in 1453, solidified the Ottomans' position as a formidable empire. However, it was their expansion into the Arab world, which began in the early 16th century, that truly marked the empire's emergence as a dominant force. In the early 1500s, the Ottoman Sultans, particularly Selim I, recognized the strategic importance of the Arab world. The Mamluks, who had ruled over Egypt and parts of the Levant, were a significant regional power, but their decline in the face of internal strife and external pressures presented an opportunity for the Ottomans to expand their influence. Selim I, known as Selim the Grim, was the Ottoman Sultan responsible for this critical expansion. In 1516, he launched a military campaign that ultimately led to the defeat of the Mamluks at the Battle of Marj, Dabiq near Aleppo, Syria. This victory not only led to the annexation of Egypt, but also secured Ottoman control over key regions of the Levant, including Syria and Palestine. By 1517, the Ottomans had successfully absorbed the Mamluk Sultanate into their empire, bringing the holy cities of Mecca and Medina under their control. The acquisition of the Arab lands was not just about territorial expansion. It was also about gaining control over some of the most lucrative trade routes in the world. The Arab world, with its central position between Africa, Asia, and Europe, had long been a crossroads for international trade. The Ottoman Empire, with its capital in Istanbul, understood that the wealth of the empire depended on the control of these critical commercial routes. One of the most important routes was the spice trade route, which connected Asia with Europe via the Arabian Peninsula. Control over the Red Sea and the Arabian Peninsula allowed the Ottomans to dominate this vital link between the East and West. The Red Sea, in particular, was a key route for the transportation of goods between the Arabian Peninsula and Egypt, which was a major hub for trade in the region. The Ottomans also controlled the important overland routes that connected the Mediterranean with the key Ottomans also controlled the important overland routes that connected the Mediterranean with the Caicos, Arabian Peninsula, facilitating the movement of goods such as textiles, spices, and precious metals. With the Ottoman control over these trade routes, the empire became the central player in the trade network between Europe, Asia, and Africa. The trade of goods like coffee, silk, cotton, and precious metals flourished under Ottoman rule, benefiting both the empire and the broader Middle Eastern region. Moreover, the Ottomans took great care in developing key infrastructure such as roads, bridges, and caravanserais, which further facilitated trade and ensured the safe passage of goods and people across the empire. This infrastructure also enabled the Ottomans to maintain their hold over the region and project their influence across vast distances. The Ottoman Empire's conquest of the Arab world also had significant religious and cultural implications. With their control of Mecca and Medina, the Ottomans became the custodians of Islam's holiest sites. This enhanced their religious legitimacy and allowed them to position themselves as the rightful protectors of the Muslim world. By declaring themselves the caliphs of Islam, the Ottomans cemented their authority over the Muslim faithful, not just in the Arab world, but across the Islamic world. The title of caliph was highly significant in the Muslim world, and the Ottoman rulers used this title to unite various Muslim majority regions under their banner. The conquest of the Arab world thus bolstered the empire's religious legitimacy, and the Ottomans took on the mantle of defending Islam from both internal and external threats. The Ottomans also maintained a delicate balance between governing the Arab world and respecting the religious and cultural traditions of the people they ruled. While they exercised political control, they were careful to respect Islamic law and tradition, which further strengthened their support among the local population. Once the Ottomans established control over the Arab world, they set about organizing the region into an efficient administrative structure that would ensure long-term stability and governance. The Arab provinces were integrated into the larger Ottoman system, but local customs and laws were often respected. This system allowed the Ottomans to govern the vast and diverse Arab territories with a degree of autonomy while maintaining central control from Istanbul. The Ottomans implemented a system of provincial governors known as pashas, who were responsible for overseeing the administration, military, and local affairs in their respective regions. These governors, in turn, were supported by local elites, many of whom were influential Arab leaders. This system of decentralized governance allowed the Ottomans to maintain control over the region while benefiting from the cooperation of local power structures. In addition to local governance, the Ottomans also established a strong military presence in the Arab world. The elite Janissary Corps, the Ottoman Army's corps, was stationed in key locations to maintain order and protect trade routes. This military strength allowed the Ottomans to maintain control of their newly acquired territories and protect their economic interests. The Ottoman Empire's establishment of supremacy over the Arab world was a multifaceted achievement that involved military conquest, economic strategy, and religious consolidation. By securing control over vital trade routes and positioning themselves as the protectors of Islam, the Ottomans laid the foundation for centuries of dominance in the region. Their rule not only reshaped the political landscape of the Arab world, but also facilitated the flow of goods and ideas between East and West, creating a legacy that would impact the course of history for generations to come. The Ottomans' establishment of supremacy over the Arab world in the 16th century not only secured their dominance in the region, but also had lasting implications on the political, economic, and cultural development of the Arab territories. The subsequent centuries of Ottoman rule were marked by both stability and challenges, and the empire's hold over the Arab world continued to shape the region's future in profound ways. This part will explore how the Ottomans maintained their control over the Arab world, their strategic management of trade routes, and the long-term impact of their dominance on the region. By the mid-16th century, the Ottoman Empire had firmly entrenched itself as the dominant power in the Arab world. Following the conquest of the Mamluk Sultanate, the Ottomans effectively ruled Egypt, Syria, Palestine, and the Hejaz, including the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. The Ottomans understood that maintaining control over these territories was not just about military power, but about managing complex relationships with local elites, religious institutions, and trade networks. One of the key elements in maintaining control over the Arab world was the careful balance between direct rule and local autonomy. The Ottomans adopted a system known as the millet system, which allowed various religious and ethnic communities within the empire to govern themselves in matters of personal law and religious practices. This system was particularly important in the Arab world, where a diverse mix of Sunni Muslims, Shia Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived in close proximity. By allowing these communities to retain a degree of autonomy, the Ottomans were able to maintain peace and stability in the region without the need for constant military intervention. The Ottomans also relied heavily on local elites to govern on their behalf. In many cases, the regional governors, known as pashas, were appointed from the local population, ensuring that they had a deep understanding of the cultural and political landscape of the Arab world. These pashas were responsible for maintaining order, collecting taxes, and overseeing the military, but they were also expected to maintain the loyalty of the local population. This system of indirect rule allowed the Ottomans to govern vast territories with relatively few resources while minimizing the risk of rebellion. Despite this relative autonomy, the Ottoman Empire never fully abandoned its central authority. The imperial court in Istanbul continued to exercise significant control over the Arab provinces, especially when it came to military matters and key political decisions. The Ottomans were keenly aware of the strategic importance of the region and the trade routes that passed through it. As such, they ensured that their military presence was always strong enough to deter any potential uprisings or external threats. The trade routes that connected the Arab world to Europe, Asia, and Africa remained a critical source of wealth for the Ottomans throughout their rule. The Ottomans' control over the Red Sea, the Arabian Peninsula, and the overland routes that connected the Mediterranean to the Arabian Gulf allowed them to dominate the flow of goods and trade in the region. The Ottomans taxed goods passing through these routes, which enriched the imperial coffers and helped fund the empire's military and administrative apparatus. The Ottomans' dominance over trade routes was particularly evident in the spice trade, which connected the East to Europe. The Ottoman Empire controlled the route that passed through Egypt and the Red Sea, and they strategically placed naval forces in key locations along the Arabian coast to safeguard these vital commercial arteries. The empire also maintained a strong presence in the Mediterranean, ensuring that their dominance over global trade continued for centuries. In addition to controlling established trade routes, the Ottomans actively sought to expand their influence over new trade networks. During the 16th and 17th centuries, the Ottomans expanded their control over the trade routes that connected the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean. This expansion was facilitated by the Ottoman Navy, which became one of the most powerful fleets in the world. The Ottomans established key ports in the Arabian Gulf, such as Basra, and maintained a strategic presence along the coasts of East Africa and India. This expansion further strengthened the Ottoman Empire's grip on global trade and solidified its position as a leading economic power in the world. However, while the Ottomans were successful in maintaining control over the Arab world for centuries, their rule was not without challenges. One of the major issues that arose was the growing influence of European powers in the region. Beginning in the 17th century, European nations such as Spain, Portugal, and later Britain and France began to establish colonial outposts in the Middle East and North Africa. These European powers sought to bypass the Ottoman-controlled trade routes and establish their own direct connections to the rich markets of Asia. The Ottomans faced significant challenges in managing their vast empire, particularly as the rise of European colonial powers began to erode their influence over global trade. Despite this, the Ottomans maintained a degree of resilience. They were able to leverage their control over the holy cities of Mecca and Medina to maintain the loyalty of Muslim subjects, who continued to view the Ottomans as the legitimate caliphs of Islam. The Ottoman sultans continued to use their religious authority to unify the Muslim world under their rule, even as European colonial powers chipped away at their territorial holdings. Internally, the Ottoman Empire also faced challenges from within the Arab world. The region was not homogeneous, and many local leaders and tribes had their own agendas. In Egypt, for example, the Ottoman sultans faced increasing challenges from local leaders who sought greater autonomy. By the late 18th century, the Ottomans faced growing instability in their Arab provinces, and the French invasion of Egypt in 1798, led by Napoleon Bonaparte, marked a significant turning point in the region's history. Although the Ottomans eventually regained control of Egypt, the French presence signaled the beginning of a new era of European influence in the Middle East. Despite these challenges, the Ottomans maintained their grip on the Arab world until the early 20th century. The empire's influence over trade routes, its religious authority, and its strategic military presence allowed it to remain a dominant power in the region for centuries. The Ottoman period in the Arab world left a lasting legacy in terms of both political governance and cultural exchange. The Ottomans' management of trade, their religious authority, and their ability to maintain stability in a diverse region helped shape the modern Middle East in profound ways. As the 20th century dawned, the Ottoman Empire began to crumble, and the Arab world found itself at the crossroads of modernization and colonialism. The impact of Ottoman rule, however, would continue to resonate throughout the history of the region, and the foundations laid during centuries of Ottoman supremacy would play a key role in shaping the future of the Arab world. The empire's dominance over trade routes, its religious legitimacy, and its governance structures would have a lasting influence on the geopolitical and cultural landscape of the region for generations to come.